Martin from the Philippines. We're here in Real Talk Lifeline. So, welcome to Podcast Meditations. And you are here on Ep.7 of Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. So, join me as I read this book for the first time and meditate on the best lessons that hit me to the soul. So, you may get some other good lessons, epiphanies, and hits as I go through this meditation, just like me. So I'm here to share with you the best lessons and how I apply them in my life as well. Let's make it useful. So let's begin. People watching on video, you can follow here on the screen as I share it over here, and I will read along. Let's begin. Chapter 7, The Most Powerful Weapon. First line. Once again, I'd have to prove myself beyond a minimum standard to get a fair shake. It was called the Hurt 100, and the name did not lie, one of the toughest 100-mile trail races in the world. It was set in a triple canopy forest on the island of Oahu. To cross the finish line, I'd have to run up and down 24,500 vertical feet. That's some Himalayan shit. I love the way David Goggins writes the book or speaks, right? As if he was there talking to me. The next line. The following weekend, I zoomed up Interstate 15 to Vegas for the Las Vegas Marathon. It was 2005, the first year that the Las Vegas Marathon started on the strip. I tried to run the morning before we left, but I still had stress fractures in my feet, so I didn't plan on running. 10, 9, 8. When he hit 1, a horn sounded and something clicked inside me. The pain was serious for the first quarter mile, but after that adrenaline took over, I was still in total disbelief that I'd actually run 6.2 miles. My body was broken. How was this happening? And here I was, running a marathon. In less than 2 hours, the game had flipped, and I might never get this chance again. I'd seen so much death by then, in my personal life and on the battlefield, that I knew tomorrow was not guaranteed. Before me was an opportunity, and if you give me an opportunity, I will. I'd finished a marathon at an elite pace for a weekend warrior when I had no business even walking a mile. Both were incredible physical feats that didn't seem possible, but they'd happened. What am I capable of? It became clear we habitually settle for less than our best at work, in school, in our relationships, and on the playing field or race course. We teach our children to settle for less than their best, and all of that ripples out, merges, and multiplies within our communities and society as a whole. Getting 100-mile weeks in while holding down a steady job isn't easy, but that was no excuse. My 16-mile commute to work from Chula Vista to Coronado became my go to run. It gave me a mental edge, a better sense of self awareness, and a ton of self confidence. That's what getting up at the ass crack of dawn and putting out will do for you. It makes you better in all facets of your life. I felt close to my absolute limit, but still had more than 40 miles to go. Even when we feel like we've reached our absolute limit, we still have 60% more to give. That's the governor in action. Once you know that to be true, it's simply a matter of stretching your pain tolerance, letting go of your identity and your self-limiting stories so you can get to 60%, then 80%, and beyond without giving up. I call this the 40% rule. So, very quick over here, the 40% rule of David Goggins. The governor is what you call, the way he explained it, it's like a speed limiter in a car. So, our brain also has a limiter or governor. And usually it stops us based on David Goggins' experience when we're around 40% only of our capacity. I knew that staying in the fight is always the hardest and most rewarding first step. Next line. Because in every failure, there is something to be gained, even if it's only practice for the next test you'll have to take. Because the next test is coming, that's a guarantee. I just wanted to quit, but by moving a little bit further, I'd reset my brain. I'd calmed down and realized I could chunk the race down to size. And staying in the game like that gave me hope. And hope is addictive. Watching that bad man glide across the most challenging terrain made me realize that there is a whole other level of athlete out there in the world, and that some of that was inside me too. In fact, it's in all of us. Everyone can achieve feats they once thought impossible. Research is one part of preparation, visualization is another. But that was nothing new. Who hasn't dreamed up a possibility for themselves only to have friends, colleagues, or family shit all over it? Sometimes the advice comes from a well intentioned place. They really believe they are doing it for our own good. But if you let them, these same people will talk you out of your dreams. That's one reason I invented the cookie jar. We must create a system that constantly reminds us who the fuck we are when we are at our best. Because life is not going to pick us up when we fail. There will be forks in the road, knives in your fucking back, mountains to climb, and we are only capable of living up to the image we create for ourselves. Our minds are fucking strong. They're our most powerful weapon, but we have stopped using them. Being open minded enough to find a way is old school, and that's exactly what I did. My entire mindset was ultra. It had to be. Most of the guys thought I was whacked out, but my old buds instructor, SBG, fucking loved it. By ultra here, David Goggins means ultra marathon. He was training on that level. Next line. Part of me didn't know if I had what it took to finish the race. So I had to invent barbaric PT, physical training, to give myself a chance. In any high stress environment, your weaknesses will surface like bad karma and overwhelm you unless you get ahead of them first. I was afraid of the heat, so in the run up to bad water, I imagined new and more medieval self torture rituals disguised as training sessions. But that didn't mean I was immune to pain. I hurt just like everybody else, but I was committed to work my way around and through it. I was dizzy and lightheaded, and I was dealing with GI issues. Translation: I had to shit on the side of the road. I was severely dehydrated. Excuses to quit piled up, one after another. I responded by taking care of my dehydration issue and pounding more water. So, GI, I believe, means gastrointestinal or gut. That's why he had to shit. So, imagine that. He went through it and then he handled it and then continued with his run. It's crazy. In the military, we always say we don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. I fell into the same rhythm I'd find on my long rucks in the desert. I wasn't running, but I kept a strong pace and covered a lot of ground. So I love this line. I also learned that in firearms training since I wasn't military trained as a civilian. But we don't rise to the level of our expectations. We always default or fall to our highest level of training that we mastered. So if we don't master a high level of training, we're gonna fall down to our lowest level, actually. And David Goggins trained to a high level. Next line. Horseflies began to dive bomb me one at a time. Two became four, which became 10 and 15. They beat their wings against my skin, but my thigh bit my thighs and crawled into my ears. This shit was biblical, and it was my very last test. I'd cover more than 110 miles on foot with only 25 miles to go. There was no fucking way those devil flies would stop me, would they? I kept marching and my crew kept swatting flies for the next 8 miles. So, when you do a long run like this, it's not just the fatigue, the physical, the weather at times. It rains, right? Or it's extremely hot. Here, David Goggins was getting attacked by horse flies towards the end, last part of his 135-mile run in bad water. So it's crazy. If any of you have experienced this, people watching the live or the replay, comment down below what is the most extreme thing you've experienced in the outdoors. I mean, I know I've encountered stray dogs. I have gotten rained on. I slipped on mud. So David Goggins encountered horse flies. Every single step was agony. But after 30 hours, 18 minutes, and 54 seconds of running, hiking, sweating, and suffering, I snapped the tape to the cheers of a small crowd. I'd wanted to quit 30 times. I had to mentally inch my way through 135 miles. But 90 runners competed that day, and I came in fifth place. Once again, I was broken, destroyed 20 different ways, but I'd passed another evolution, another crucible, and my reward was a lot more than a medal. It was a whole new bar. It whispered in my ear and shared a secret which echoed in my brain, like a drum beat that wouldn't stop. There is no finish line, Goggins. There is no finish line. So let's go back here to me for a moment. So we are here ending chapter 7. So what's it now? Challenge number 7. Challenge number 7. The main objective here is to slowly start to remove the governor from your brain. First, a quick reminder of how this process works. In 1999, when I weighed 297 pounds, my first run was a quarter mile. Fast forward to 2007, I ran 205 miles in 39 hours non-stop. I didn't get there overnight, and I don't expect you to either. Your job is to push past your normal stopping point. Whether you are running on a treadmill or doing a set of push ups, get to the point where you are so tired and in pain that your mind is begging you to stop. Then push just 5 to 10% further. If the most push ups you have ever done is 100 and in a workout, do 105 or 110. If you normally run 30 miles each week, run 10% more next week. This gradual ramp up will help prevent injury and allow your body and mind to slowly adapt to your new workload. It also resets your baseline, which is important because you're about to increase your workload another 5 to 10% the following week, and the week after that. There is so much pain and suffering involved in physical challenges that it's the best training to take command of your inner dialogue. And the newfound mental strength and confidence you gain by continuing to push yourself physically will carry over to other aspects of your life, in your life. You will realize that if you were underperforming in your physical challenges, there is a good chance you are underperforming at school and work too. The bottom line is that life is one big mind game. The only person you are playing against is yourself. Stick with this process, and soon what you thought was impossible will be something you do every fucking day of your life. I want to hear your stories. Post on social. Hashtags. Hashtag can't hurt me. Hashtag the 40% rule. Hashtag don't get comfortable. So, to end this episode, I'll share my personal story on this, on the 40% rule. So, I'm going to share very quick over here my screen again, and I will exit this journaling. And on that same day, as I was reading chapter 7, I took a break, and it was the spur of the moment thing. So, long story short, I did this on that same day, February 7, 2025, and I did my very first sub 1 hour 10K run. So, what that means is to run 10 kilometers in under 1 hour. So, let me stop sharing this, and I'm going to share another screen for a moment. Some people might think, oh, that's easy. Oh, you just did it spur of the moment. You know, like, what does that even mean? So, a quick background, as David Goggins explained in the challenge number 7. Back last year, this was in July 29, 2024. I tried to run my fastest 10 kilometers, and I was at a 7-minute pace. So I did it over an hour 11 minutes. So I tried again over here. So July, so now August. August, I ran again, 10 kilometers, and my pace was still 6.5 minutes per kilometer. I'd have to break 6 minutes flat, like faster than 6 minutes a kilometer to do it. So I still did it over an hour. Lastly, I was so close, 1 hour and 34 seconds. So I just did it 6 minutes and 1 second per kilometer. And I was running till I gassed out, right? So I really felt my limit to finally doing it in 59 minutes and 21 seconds recently. So, what is your story of your 40% rule where you pushed yourself and you work your way up? This was not some magic pill one time, thing, and the spur of the moment. One thing that kept me on February 7 when I finally broke it was the thought that David Goggins ran it on broken feet. So he did it while he was injured. So that gave me that mental, you know, edge to do it because someone else did it and someone else did it on a different level. So for all you high performers out there, maybe that's too easy for you. Do your own personal best, right? For maybe someone who's having a hard time to even walk, right? Then maybe I'm somewhere in the middle, right? You could use as a reference. So thank you. I love you, and I'll see you in the next episode.